Welcome back to A Nite Show Goodbye to David Letterman. I'm Dan Cashman, host of The Nite Show. I will never forget the day I met Dave in 2000. I met him outside the Ed Sullivan Theater. He was starting jury duty the next day. And as he got into his car to leave the theater, I said something about jury duty. I don't know what it was, but he stopped, he got out of his car, he pointed at me, and he said, "That's funny." I have no clue what I said, but the memory of his response will last a lifetime. Does it sound creepy? Sure, it does, but it was pretty cool for me. I'm not alone as a Maine media person, though, saying goodbye to Dave. Lots of broadcasters have grown up with Letterman's wit and style on television. Here's a collection of a few Maine recognizable faces saying goodbye.
So here's the thing about Letterman. I remember him from being a guest on Johnny Carson. We had the wide lapels and the big ties, but he had a quality that nobody except Carson had this to the extent that Letterman had it. You felt like he was having as much fun as the guest. That was his secret weapon. He would crack up. He was having a great time, and he had brilliant comic timing, which essentially was he let the audience do the timing. He's gonna be missed. I can't believe it's been that long.
I don't think there's anyone on earth who's made me laugh as much as David Letterman. Going back to the morning show in the summer of 1980, and then the late night show, and then the transition to CBS. It's just a blur of comedy. I mean, Dave is as groundbreaking in his time as Johnny Carson was in his, and there will never be another David Letterman.
So I always knew Walpole, Massachusetts was a pretty cool place to grow up. Well, my suspicion was confirmed because when I was younger, the owner of the pizza shop downtown has lizards that ride motorcycles. And sure enough, they were on David Letterman.
The thing I remember most about Letterman is when he would drop things off a building. Watermelons. The best one he dropped off was a turkey that would bounce off at the bottom, bounced off a trampoline, and it looked like it could fly. And I was in tears when I saw that. And it's kind of inspired me with what we do in our show, try to do that crazy, weird stuff that no one's ever thought of, but everything we think of, he's already done it.
My favorite memory of Dave is, Dave, you may not remember this, but I was a young intern. I'm a native New Yorker and had scored an internship with CBS and had some friends who worked at your studio there on West 57 and found my way into your theater when nobody was there after hours. And you were there after hours because that's the kind of a worker that you are in leading your team. You're always there behind the scenes, and I got a chance to bump into you and took the opportunity and the advantage to ask you about some broadcasting advice because I always knew I wanted to go into the television business. And I asked you the advice of what does it take to make it in television, and you gave me the advice of a sense of humor and being true to yourself and having a great personality and being willing to work hard. And I've held those three core pieces of advice throughout the duration of my career. I still try to do that. And I'm working in television as we speak. I've been in television for more than 10 years now in Maine, and so I'm very appreciative to the advice that you gave me just running in, and the fact that you just took someone, a young person, aside and was willing to share and impart some advice, some important advice, and I really appreciate that. You've had a long career. I've had so much respect for you, and you've had an esteemed career, and I just think you're a larger-than-life personality. You will definitely be missed at CBS, but personally, for someone who had the opportunity to interact with you, it meant so much to me, and I think we're going to miss you. You've definitely carved a niche for yourself, and big shoes for whoever is going to follow you. So I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm very appreciative to have the opportunity to have met you.
All right. Well, I went through college with David Letterman. It was always something that was waiting for you late at night, and I think we've been really lucky in America that we've had some late night TV show hosts that make us feel good at the end of the day, give us something to laugh at. Nobody was better than Letterman. The top 10 list. The band, all the guests, and letting Madonna take over the show once in a while. Always very funny stuff. Something that I don't know that you can ever truly replace. Hopefully we'll be lucky again and get someone else good. Something like Danny Cashman going national. But until then, we'll only have fond memories of David Letterman as we say goodbye.
So I grew up watching David Letterman. I had a little TV in my bedroom that I was supposed to have totally turned off by 10 p.m., but I would totally turn it back on 11:30 so I could watch Dave. I always, something about his sense of humor always resonated with me. It still does. He's kind of cranky, but also hilarious, and really likes all kinds of different types of people. He's kind of accessible in that way. I always look forward to, I don't think I've ever missed a year around Christmas, I didn't watch Jay Thomas tell the story about the Lone Ranger, and then they threw the football at the Christmas tree to knock the meatball off. That's definitely a treasured memory.
It's so hard to pick one moment, but I go back to the 1980s, watching Dave on his old show, and the network said that Bangor was probably his lowest rated market. So he had to try to do something to get viewers from Bangor to watch. So he started picking names out of the phone book. I think he started calling people too. But Paul Schaefer came up with this interesting little jingle that said something to the effect of, and I won't say it, I will just say how you mispronounce Bangor, I don't even know her. Great moment.
You know, when I was a kid, Johnny Carson was kind of the king of late night. I used to sneak down, and my parents would be watching him, and I'd go down over the stairs late at night. It was really a treat to get to see him and see his humor. And, of course, my kids, as they were growing up, they'd sneak down and they want to see David Letterman because he was the king of cool. So, you know, for me, getting to see both and seeing the baton pass was really excellent. And David, of course, set the bar beyond what Carson did. And now all the other shows that are on really are kind of emulating what Dave did. And he just was the king of cool. That's why I loved him so much.
David Letterman to me was the younger counterpart to my own acerbic, sarcastic father, and somewhat to some extent my mother. And he was like my peer in being parented by them. And when I discovered David Letterman, I became a huge fan because I love that kind of sarcastic, acerbic wit, and he was absolutely fabulous. And I've tried to use some of that stuff in my own very mediocre radio career at WGAN.
I feel like I'm just barely over Carson leaving the Tonight Show, so I don't know how I'm going to handle Letterman leaving. I just think he is one of the greats, and one of the things I love about him is I think he's one of the best interviewers on television, and his show is about great writing and great conversation, and he's really one of the best. I'm just going to so miss the guy.
You know, there are just so many things that he's done, but the person that he had out in San Francisco when Mike Singletary was the head coach of the 49ers, and he would call him up and he would just be on the phone talking to him as if he were talking with Mike Singletary. I was just in hysterics, laughing every single time he would do that skit. He could have done it every single night and I would have enjoyed it.
So when I went to the University of Maine, there were only two types of broadcasting students. There was Carson students and Letterman students. Carson students went to bed after Carson was over. They got somewhere between a 3.0 and a 4.0. And then there were Letterman students. You got somewhere between a 1.0 and a 2.0. I was a Letterman student.
David Letterman and I have something in common. We both graduated from Ball State University. I actually met him on 2 occasions. I met him once when he was interviewing Biz Stone, and I met him again when he interviewed Oprah. So 2 experiences I will never forget. Chirp, chirp.
Right now, Danny Cashman. Oh, hey, Danny. Hello, everybody in Maine. Listen, I want to talk to you about the David Letterman show. I was fortunate enough to be on the David Letterman show years ago, and I was nervous the night I auditioned for it, and I was extremely nervous the whole time leading up to it. I was staying in a hotel across the street, looking out the window all night long at his name and lights. Then I went over, my big moment came, I did the first joke, they laughed. I heard Dave laugh, which was something I will never forget about. I heard Letterman laughing at one of my jokes behind me, and then in the front row, I heard my parents arguing, just in dead airspace. He's up there right now, Masha. If you'd shut it, why don't you put a sock in your pie hole, Bob? I can still hear it to these days. They almost completely derailed me, but I made it through, and to this day, it's one of my crowning achievements in stand-up comedy. So here's to Dave Letterman, and happy sales, my friend.